Why was the Black Panther canceled? Racism. The answer is sales. I'm going to show you a comic book called Future Foundation. Back in December of 2019, this was famously canceled. After the first issue had come out, they had enough sales data to know there was no legs for this ongoing series. 5 was the final one. Jeremy Whiteley was the writer, had to do a Twitter post about it, how sad it was. But hey guys, don't give up on the book. Keep buying it. 8,000 units sold. Also in 2019, the Ironheart series comes out. The 12th issue was the final issue. The comic book was discontinued. It was at 9,000 units sold. Actually, pay attention to this one here. It was the 199th hottest comic book out of all DC, Image, Boom, IDW, Marvel, Dynamite, Oni. Every comic book comes out. Let's look at some more comic books that have been canceled from memory using Comicron's website, which at the time made their estimates off of what Diamond provided. Today, Diamond isn't the sole game in town when it comes to distributing comic books, so they just can't do what I got here. However, that number to the left is still pretty important about how many units sold. So when you're the 199th comic book, hottest comic book coming out, that's cancellation territory. That's what that teaches me. When Champions needed a jolt, they renumbered the comic starting all the way at 1, kind of brand new, more global direction, more different heroes. Jim Zub stayed on as the writer. He already took over for Mark Waid at like 19 of the prior Champions. They went up to 27, restarted with 1, and they got all the way to 10. 11,000 units sold. 11,000 people were consistent customers at the comic book shop. That's how much were pre-ordered or estimated to have pre-ordered. And that's all it took. 11,000 human beings. 11,000 Homo sapiens spending money on a comic. That's all. It doesn't take much. This comic was canceled. It was the 199th hottest comic that month in 2019, month of October. Agents of Atlas is also here. Similar story because this didn't have a long run. I'll tell you when it was canceled. Agents of Atlas made it to issue number 5. I don't remember if it was a limited series or if it was an ongoing that was advertised. I do know that the War of the Realms, Agents of Atlas, that was always going to be limited. This one makes it to 5. 9,000 units sold. It was canceled, or I just have a foggy memory of whether this was advertised to be ongoing. 190th hottest selling comic book of that month. That sales have told us. When Ta-Nehisi Coates was writing his Black Panther, his second volume, because remember they divided it after he'd started with Intergalactic Empire. Issue 22 of that, he made it to 25. Issue 22 had 13,000 units sold. It was the 125th hottest comic. He would go for 3 more until that was it. They were slowly dwindling in sales month by month, and it came to a point of we cannot afford paying and making this comic book. They were not willing to do it anymore. The reason why I'm not showing you what happened with issue 25 and I'm showing you 22 is because March of 2020 was quite a year. A lot of things were disrupted, and I really don't trust Comicron after that month. Just know it was canceled. So, as high as the comic book sales were for the first issue of the e-viewing comic book of Black Panther, throughout time, as it's normal, the second issue gets half of the units sold. And then it comes the third. And then the comic book shops got to level out and they got to see how many are on the shelves. How much did people pick up? I'll order accordingly. So the comic book, of course, makes it to issue 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 just came out now. My friends, when I was looking at data for the month of December, not using Comicron, these guys use ICV2. ICV2. Go figure it out if you guys want to look into it. But it's not Comicron. And we're not in the days of Diamond being the lone distributor in town. The projections, based off of a sample size of comic book stores here and there, is that this is the 173rd hottest selling comic book of the month. That is cancellation. Issue 7 was 173rd. Everything I know, the way my brain functions and patterns have told me that 8 gets lower, so does 9, so does 10. The comic book company known as Marvel needs to ask themselves, do we go and sell an issue 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 because they write for the trades, meaning that 5 issue portions? Do we go 5 more, or do we save money? Do we not engage in a 5 month commitment that will cost us money, or do we cancel the comic book, maybe chill on it a couple of months, and introduce a brand new Black Panther? And when it's called issue number 1, the stores don't know what to do. They always over order because they don't know who's not going to be interested, and then they gotta see what their fan bases do. The Marvel and DC also are in the business of confusing and tricking your LCSs into over ordering, into providing variant comic book covers, and other practices. You guys want to know why human piece of filth wrote 15 issues and wasn't canceled at 5 or 6? There are many people who collect Alex Ross covers, and that had much to do with it. That just introduces a base. And when we're only talking a few thousand subscribers, a few thousand are make it or break it. If this Eve Ewan comic had 10 more thousand people buying a comic, which is possible, right now there's comic books selling in the 30,000s on a monthly basis, 30,000 units sold. This comic, if it had an extra 10K, no worries about cancellation. Dog, if it had an extra 5K, I think we'd get all the way to 15. To anyone asking about digital sales, go back to comiccron.com, the website I was just on, and you'll learn that 10% of the comic book sales of those floppies are digital sales. The majority of it still remains physical copies, which is what they were following. And every comic book has digital sales. So make that with what? If that doesn't make sense, how do I put it? There is no scenario where only Black Panther gets digital sales, or this appeals to a younger audience who are more inclined to use digital. That's not the case. Maybe you could tell me something about the Kamala Khan Ms. Marvel comic book. Maybe they lean younger. You could probably convince me. But even then, how much more percentage do they account for? And hey, a digital sale goes directly. They don't have to share with the comic book store. It would go directly to the publisher. So it would be valuable. As well as trade paperback sales. That's another form of revenues, another form where they generate revenue. But again, much like every comic I told you about that just got canceled, they also have trade paperbacks. So there's nothing special here about Black Panther. There is a standard where a comic book gets below a certain number, which would the 10K units sold, 10K, and get canceled. When it's near the 173rd highest selling comic book of the month, it gets canceled. Why was Black Panther canceled? Sales. Not enough of you bought 2. I did. I always bought 2 comic books. And then what I also didn't do was get hyped for the lesser characters. I'm kind of done with Marvel. The most impactful character that they got is T'Challa. Paying money to try to get these characters up is like it's $4 to do this impact, it's $4 to do this impact. I'd rather just concentrate 2 of my $4 because I can vote twice in this monthly election. I'd rather just bolster up this guy. The closer he is to the number 1 spot, the better it is for impact. Impact is the word of the day. I don't feel like supporting. If they said they're going to do a Photon series, I'm going to say why. I'm going to say we just saw 5 issues of it and you guys didn't do anything with it. Why am I supposed to get excited for Photon again? Huh? Pay money for that because I know there's a dead end. I know there's an end point. Why should I be interested in Ironheart? Aside from me liking the character, which I do. I like the character, and I'll read that Stephanie Williams comic eventually when they decide to release it, probably to coincide with the TV series. While that's being advertised, they'll have it in the shelves. I'll check it out just because I like the character, for only that reason. But I'm not gonna be like, oh, representation is important, I gotta give this D-list hero my money. I won't do that anymore unless I like the character enough. So whatever black character they got, whatever melanated skin tone character that they got coming out, whether it's a Shuri book, whether it's a Brother Voodoo, pick the character. Luke Cage. I'm gonna go, nah. Impact is done here, the closer you are to number one. And that guy's T'Challa. And Storm. And Storm. If they did a Storm series that took place in current day and was relevant, I couldn't do anything but support that. I gotta prove that she's an A-list and worthy of not being canceled. I gotta do that. That's just every bone in my body says Storm and T'Challa. But then all these guys down here, I don't pretend that Marvel is this. That's not even the point of this video, man. Look, I hope that addresses questions, concerns, inquiries that I've seen in my comment section. Write more comments if you have more questions, or if you think I'm wrong, or if you think whatever it is. That's why the comic book was canceled. I'm chill. Check out Recast T'Challa, the live stream, or just check out the highlighted version right up there.